You need to consider using this. You need to consider using this, or you need to consider using this. Hey, my friends, David Burns, good to be with you today for August tips. Wow, can you believe it's August already? The beehives demand so much attention in the month of August, and today I'm going to walk you through all the things that you should be considering in the month of August. Now, it doesn't matter where you live. You can adapt this by a few weeks or a month, but this is basically the season where summer is getting toward the end of being summer, and you're getting into not quite fall, but you're getting into a dearth. When summer, the nectar flow of summer is over, and you've got about a month usually before fall arrives. That's kind of the time period so you can make the adaptation. This is a good hive for us to look into because this is one that's probably configured the way that a lot of you are dealing with your bees already. I did not put a honey super on this frame. I just wanted it to build up its two deeps getting ready for winter. And I have a feeder on here, but something strange going on in there. Oh. Not sure, but it looks like some bees have gotten in here. I would say it had something to do with my top cover. So these could actually be robber bees. Let me look at my top cover. So sometimes if the top cover is being held up by a little bump out or something like these things here, then the bees may have tried to get up there. So that's a good little tip to make sure to look around and make sure it's sealed all the way around. And you can tell this top cover too has gotten a lot of use out of it. So and if you can hear that noise, we have crop dusters in the area. I'm sure you can hear that. And nobody likes crop dusters. If you're a beekeeper, we worry about what kind of things that they're, got in their tanks when they're crop dusting. But yeah, we'll examine everything about this board too to make sure there's not a leak in the screen. But I'm sure it has to do with something to do with that top. All right. Yep, so this screen is certainly in place really well, and this screen is no holes. Here's the feed that we put on there last week, and they've eaten almost all of it. And no holes in that screen, so they just came in through the top. So be careful to keep those tops down. Make sure you don't have bad equipment to let them leak in there. But yeah, they've eaten a good amount. Oh, small hive beetle on the top there. Oh, we got it. Beetles are always attracted to any kind of food source, so keep an eye on that. Now that we're talking about the possibility that these bees could have been robbers, let me show you this. An August tip is all about making sure your bees don't get robbed out. These robber screens, I think, are some of the best right here. And you need to put these on when there's a dearth and the bees could possibly be robbing out each other. And you want to put these on either, let me get this plane out of my hair. You want to put these on either early in the morning before the bees start flying, or you can put them on at night. And so you want to put them on the entrance of your hive. I'll show you in just a second. And look, you open these doors at the top, one side only, and then your bees are going to go in and out of this top. And the robber bees are going to smell the hive and want to go in here. Comes with a lot of push pins that you can push the pins in to lock it into the front of the hive. And my videographer, Pat, explained to me too, because I didn't read the instructions, that you can actually take a pin and you can push it in the bottom down here like this. Tell me if I'm doing it wrong, Pat, but I think
that's it.
You have to be strong.
It's tough the first time.
Oh, okay, good, yeah. I don't want to poke my finger. There you go. So if you put one on both sides, let's go ahead and do both sides. This serves as a smaller opening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. a reducer, right? No, a mouse guard. There we go.
guard.
I was looking for the right word. So this is a mouse guard. This is how you put a mouse guard on. Okay. So you push this through this little square or rectangle there. All right. Now let's do it on the front. Let's show them what it looks like on the front here. Just for a second, we can get by with this. But if I put it on here, okay, here we go. That fits pretty good. Then there's still enough room for the bees to go in and out, as you can see, but apparently a mouse can't get through there. So this serves as a second function. You can use it as a robber screen, but in this case, this is not a robber screen anymore. When you do this, the robbers will go in there. This is a mouse guard right here, when you're not worried about robbers. But for the robber screen, you want to pull these pins out. Let me see if I can get them out real quick. Now we don't want to put this on in the middle of the day. It's better to let your bees come out and kind of get orientated to it. Like I said, early in the morning, late at night. There we go. Put it on the front like right now. And now nobody can get in and out except your bees could go in and out of one of these doors that you open. See, those are our bees that are doing the same thing robber bees would do. They smell the hive, they know where they're going, they just can't get in there. But eventually your bees are going to figure this out, but the robbers never will. So these are important. This is an important tip for August. You got to put on robber screens because robbing does happen. Look at the pollen and back legs of some of these bees. Some yellow pollen right here, yeah. All right, let's let them back to work. Now, before we get into the hive, I want to also let you know another important tip in getting your bees kind of configured right for winter is to remove the queen excluder when you're done with your honey supers. The queen excluder is usually on once you take, if you don't have a feeder, you would have your 2 deeps and then the feeder wouldn't be there, but you would have your queen excluder, 2 deeps, queen excluder, and then you have your honey supers on top. And so when you're done with your honey supers, then you always want to remove the queen excluder, even if you leave a honey super on for winter. Because if you don't, the queen cannot come up through here, and what's going to happen, she's going to get deserted down below in the deep, and the bees are going to move up. The cluster, the winter cluster will desert her for the most part. Some will stay near her, but not enough to keep her warm. Do not overwinter with the queen excluder. That's an important August tip. Once you've extracted, take the queen excluder off as well. All right, so let's smoke in the little screen holes here. So by the way, this is another tip that I want to throw in here while we're here, is that really these feeder boards that I created do such a great job at feeding your bees in the fall. And so I've made a lot of videos about it. You take your sugar water that's 1-to-1. This is another important August tip. And then we mix it up with 1-to-1 sugar water with our additives. And then you just put it over your holes. So if you want to, you could put 2 of them in here. And we have this little section here if you want to push a pollen patty through. So some of you still might use pollen patties. You can take the wax paper off one side and push it through here and let them eat the pollen patty. But only use enough pollen patty that the bees can protect. Don't give them so much that beetles might lay a lot of eggs in there. All right. Yep, so feeding your bees like this in a dearth is so important. And I can't stress enough what we're doing here. If you haven't followed my videos and you're new, thanks for watching. But we want to feed bees now this 1-to-1 so that we can stimulate the queen to lay more eggs. Those bees are going to be bees of winter physiology in the months of August, September. So we're trying to raise bees of winter physiology. Which brings us to another tip that's important too, because if you just feed your bees, you raise a lot of bees of winter physiology, but they're bees that are infected with viruses from the Varroa destructor mite, then they're not going to live as long as you want them to live. Bees of winter physiology that are mostly mite-free are going to live anywhere from 4 to 8 months once the egg's laid. But if they're infected with a mite, they're going to live half that time, so that's going to be 2 to 4 months. And so that brings us to the point of mite control. You gotta control your mites in the month of August. Now, some of you might use azelaic acid, Formic Pro. I can't use Formic Pro this week. It's in the 90s each day. It's not gonna work, a little hot. And so, you want less brood when you use azelaic acid. There's a lot of different treatments, but I'll show you a tip right now in how I think this is a good time to implement a mite control strategy. So let's get into the hive and I'll show you what I'm doing. Sometimes people ask me, David, have you ever used a spritz spray? A spritz spray is sugar water where you would just spray sugar water on the bees to calm them down. I have tried that many years ago. I wasn't impressed with it. And smoke really does the trick for me. A lot of you ask me, have I ever used the new vape smoke? It's smoke that electronic smokers that use some type of liquid that makes a vape, and I have tested some of those, and so far I'm not totally as pleased with them as I am smoke from a traditional smoker. Now that's just me. Some of those might work great for you guys. I would never want to put down a company that's trying to make that work, but I just like the traditional smoker. So happy that we've reached 150,000 subscribers. Thanks guys, you mean the world to me, appreciate it so much. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, and I know half of you that watch my channel haven't, I wish you would. I'm trying out a new little QR code that might help you subscribe to my channel. It's on the screen here, but certainly you can click the subscribe button. Please subscribe. Now let's get back and keep working this hive for August tips. All right, so this hive's doing really good. You can see they're still going at it. Got some frames pulled out and they're deep over here with honey on it. So one of the things I'm going to be looking for today is I'm going to be looking to see if I can find my queen out of these 20 frames. Because what we're going to do today is we're going to break the brood cycle of the queen by a couple of techniques that I'll show you here in just a second. And that means we're going to break the brood cycle in critical months now where we have mites reproducing very quickly. Won't be a queen there because it's all honey, and pretty much the same over here. Okay. This time of the year you really should wear more protective gear because this is the time when bees can get a little rougher because they're bigger populated hives now. They got more honey they're protecting either in their brood area or on supers above. So it's a good time to wear more protection. If you're not comfortable with just a hat and a veil like today, put the bee suit on, put the gloves on. I've got my bee suit with me. I've got my gloves with me. If things go bad, I'm going to get more protection on. You've also heard me talk about this. You've also heard me talk about this tip is using burlap to cover your hive on fall inspections. Now this sheet's a little too small, but it'll give you the idea of what I'm talking about. If you had a way that you could actually take a larger sheet of burlap, then what you can do is keep the hive covered up like this much of it. A nice flat piece of burlap. This is not what it's designed for. Then you can cover up frames as you move across. This can prevent robbing during your fall, August inspections in a dearth. So just kind of keep some frames, secret. You can use your top cover if it'll balance up there, but that way you're not exposing all the smell of the hive at once, so it helps a lot as well. Oh, there's a lot of tips for August. Amazing. It looks like to me that these frames are heavy with honey, nectar, and so I don't know if we're ever going to see any queen up here. I think she might be down lower. Oh, that's good brood pattern, and there you go. I take back all the words that I just said. Okay, so we're looking for the queen because we need to isolate our queen. So let's look on this frame to see if we see her. I want to say I marked her green, but with as many hives as I have, I don't recall. And just honey and nectar on this side over here. But she could still be on this side, walking around. Okay, don't see her. See some drones. Take another glance just to make sure. Queen is not often on the capped brood area because she can't lay any eggs there, but sometimes she's looking around everywhere, so she could be anywhere. So always smoke your frames. Between lifting another frame out is good, especially this time of the year when bees are going to be more defensive. Hey, I had a comment. Somebody asked me, I got stung on the finger when I was working the new keeper's hive. And somebody asked me, did that swell up? Not really. I don't really swell up that much when I'm stung. Now, it depends on where you're stung. If you're stung in the face, you know, you can always swell up in weird places. But on the fingers, I had a little swelling, but nothing huge. It depends on kind of your own body's reaction. You know, how good is it that your body's going to react to your sting? All right, let's take a look for a queen here. Looks like if I was a queen, I'd be on this frame because there's a lot of open cells. Okay, let's take a glance around. I don't see her. Nope. I don't see the queen. So what we're going to do is isolate the queen, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways to isolate your queen to cut down on mite reproduction. Let's see if she's in this top deep box. If not, we're going to go down to the next one. Okay. Got some bee bread and a little bit of brood. Don't see the queen. Got a lot of honey in this one. Now, some of you wonder how much honey should you have on board to go through winter. I know that this hive has a lot of stored honey in this top deep, and I like that. So I'm going to feed them my Winter Be Kind boards, which go on sale in just a day or two, August the 1st. And so with the honey that they have, you know, around this area in this top deep, in addition to me feeding them, they're going to have good food resources all winter. Okay, don't see the queen there either. Now let's drop our protective cloth back behind us. There we go. Cover up more that we've already looked at. I got this trick from Billy Davis. He's already passed away. Older EAS gentleman, master beekeeper gentleman that I learned a lot from. And I'm going to be going out to EAS to test candidates for the master beekeeper certification in just a few days. Looking forward to that. See a bunch of friends that I hang out with at EAS every year. Always fun. All right, let's pull this frame up, see what we got here. I'm seeing good brood. Look at that. Proud of, oh, there's a green dot. Look at that. Right there at the bottom. Walking to the other side, of course. Is she just, oh, here she comes, yep. Well, there's not much area to lay here. So let me just set this down. So let's see which side she's going to go to. Let's coach her to go up on this side a little bit. Yep, there we go. My hands are sticky with propolis. But if I pick the queen up, oh, there's the queen with the tattoo. Now, somebody told me that was a mite. They said, no, that was a mite, David. That was not a tattoo. But it's still in the same exact spot, and a mite doesn't hang out in the same spot. I said that it's funny. She looks like she has a mite tattoo on her abdomen. A little mark there. But look at her brood pattern. She deserves to wear a tattoo. But let me show you. One of the ways that we can break the queen's brood cycle is by taking your queen, usually in the months of August, September, and October, and cage her for 1 week. So I've got a plastic queen cage. I'm doing this so that this is usually what you would do. This is a cage that your queen likely came in a new package. And so what I can do here is just put her in here. Now, you can put her in like right now, but to make it a little easier, I'm going to go ahead and close most of the cage, put it back together like that. got to get it to snap. I'm going to get this worker bee to go away. There we go. Now let's see if we can just get our queen to walk back in the little hole here. That's a little tricky. She's sticking to my fingers a little bit. They're sticky, but she's starting to walk in there a little bit. There she goes. So now you just take your finger and keep it over there. You can see her walking around in there. And now you can close the little manhole cover and let it snap. Now in this case, I've got a special cap that came with this queen cage because I don't want her to walk out. There's no candy in here. So one of the ways that you can cut down on your mite level is to cage this queen for 1 week. And you can use the cage that I've just shown you. That's one way. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it, so bear with me. All right, let's get a smoke up here. All right. All right. So you can actually just put the queen between the frames. You can hang it any way that you want to set it. Just know that you don't want to leave too big of a gap or they will build some weird comb or something. If your frames are drawn out like this, you won't really have to worry about strange comb being built, wonky comb being built. So what I'm going to do is just kind of take it like this, and I can drop it down below the wood, and then I can just, I don't want to squeeze it where I would drown her in squeezed honey, but enough friction that it's going to hold the cage in there in position like that. I can tell that's good. And they're going to feed her through the little holes in the cage. And that's only going to be for 1 week. And then we'll let her out. But I want to tell you that during this time, what can happen is that the bees are smart enough to know that they want a queen and they can actually raise queen cells. So in this case, what you want to do is before you release the queen, I recommend that you tear down the queen cells that they've built and that you would take a marshmallow and insert it into the hole of the queen cage and let them eat through that queen cage and slowly get introduced to her again. Now, another way that you can handle this is that you could actually kill the queen and then let them raise the queen cells. Now that's going to give you a 30-day break. This hive would be fine with a 30-day break in the brood pattern. At this time of the year, they've got a lot of brood, they've got a lot of resources, and by breaking the brood cycle for 30 days, you have a huge mite protection of them not reproducing so much. So this should not be your only method of mite control, but it is a method that works pretty good this time of the year. If you do this once in August, once in September, once in October, then you have 3 weeks that you're possibly preventing thousands of mites from reproducing during this time when they grow the fastest. All right, let me show you another way that you can actually deal with the queen. I'm going to be having to move some frames to do this, but just stay with me here a second. We had a frame back here that I saw that had some open brood or open cells on it. And I remember saying if I was a queen, I would love to be back here on that frame with the open cells. So I'm going to find that frame and I'm going to show you how to use a push-in queen cage. Let's smoke them a little bit. All right. So we know where our queen is. She's caged over there. I know it wasn't this frame. It might have been this one. Let's take a look. Yeah, it was. So let's just go ahead and set this frame right here. All right. Smoke these bees a little bit, keep everybody calm. And then this little tiny box, look at that, a push-in queen cage. Now this is going to be particularly useful for those of you who don't want to pick up your queen and you don't want to have to put her in a cage. Here's what you can do. You can take the queen that might be walking around, so let's get her walking on this frame, and then we're going to cage her. Let me take the top off and see if we can get her to walk out. I have to be careful or all the other bees are just going to fill the cage up. And well, okay, so let's speed it up by opening the cage a little bit more. Bees are wanting to get her out of there. Let's open up the manhole cover, see if that'll speed it up a little bit. Well, let's open it up big time. Her pheromone is so powerful. Oh, here she comes. It's so strong, her pheromones, that the bees just really can smell her pretty quickly. So there she is right down there now. So with the queen cage, a pushing queen cage, you would find her, see her, and then you would just make sure the bees are out of the way. All right, now we've set that down. She can't get out of the queen cage, and you just gently push it in until it reaches, this is a plastic foundation, so it's called the mid-rib, and that will prevent the bees from digging under it to get her out of there. Since it's queen excluder material, all the worker bees can go in and out. They can take care of her, and this might be a better way rather than caging her, because in this case, her pheromones get spread around a little bit more, and they're less likely to raise another queen. More queens. So you see her here, they're taking care of her. So you can break the queen's brood cycle by just putting in a push-in queen cage. Now, I want to show you one more technique of doing this. Man, you get educated when you watch my channel, don't you? If you haven't seen the videos that I've made with the isolation cage, this is another effective way that you can cage the queen to break a queen's brood cycle. So in this case, we're going to do exactly what we've done here, but on a much larger scale. So we're going to actually take the top off, and we're going to put the queen on this frame. We're going to put the whole frame with the queen on it in here. But in order to do that, to make it easy, what you need to do is first, let's make a spot where we can put the frame cage in position first. One thing I like about the burlap, if your smoker kind of dies out a little bit, you can always puff it very quickly, and the burlap snaps back really fast. I like that about it, especially for those of you that might forget to keep it going. It'll come back really fast for you. Okay, so let's just smoke the hive here. I don't see any signs of robbing. By the way, when you're working bees in the fall, you've got to be careful and observe that other bees may be robbing your colony. Now, if you look here, you don't see anybody flying, right? Nobody's flying. You might see one or two, but nothing. That means there's nobody robbing what we're doing here. So we're safe. But these bees will fly off of where they're at now. Robbing, you'd see a lot of bees flying right now. So what we're going to do is leave our queen in the cage just right now, and I'll show you how to work this. I think we have enough space there to put our frame down in there. It's going to be close, might be a little tight. Let's see what it looks like. Let's get some bees out of our way. I'm going to go right in this slot here. Now when you use this isolation cage, it does take the space up of 2 frames. And we have one against the wall that doesn't have a lot on it that we can temporarily take out of the hive. We're only going to do this for about a week. All right, so now we have a spot, right? So let's say that for all intents and purposes, you pulled this frame up and you saw the queen on it. So now we have to recreate that by letting her out of her cage over here. So see if I can pull this off. We're going to take the cage off. Okay, she's walking around on the frame there, right here. So you would say, oh, I just pulled up a frame and there's my queen. So now you just lower it down into this cage. Keep an eye on the queen so you don't smash her against the wire or anything. And she goes all the way down like that. This is a way to isolate her. And then you take your lid, which I've tested, and the queen doesn't come out of the frame. That's good. And you just put the top on it like this. Okay, so in this case, what we have is this queen is now being held in the isolation cage. That way she is still going to be able to lay eggs, and that's still going to create more opportunity for mites to reproduce, because this cell, the cells on this frame, there's probably going to, you know, most frames have just under 7,000 cells on them, a deep frame. So this one, when I looked at it, it's got honey in it, it's got a mixture of things in it. She probably could lay a couple of thousand eggs in there. But when she's in a pushing cage, it's only going to have about 100 cells that she could possibly lay. So that's the only thing. You're not getting as good of an isolation, because there's more places for her to lay here than if she was under this. If she's under this, she can't lay as much, and the mites can't reproduce as much. So I'm giving you 3 options, right? Hang her from a queen cage, then she's not laying any eggs, but you have to tear down possibly queen cells. Put her under here to isolate her. We're cutting down her brood so that the mites don't reproduce on the brood. Or put her in a queen cage, isolation queen cage. And so that's 3 options. I think that is really a good way to do it. In my case, this would be the best one that I would prefer to do, because I don't have to worry about losing a frame. I don't have to worry about them laying a lot of eggs and still having a chance for mites to reproduce.
If you left her in here for a week or 2, would you then freeze that frame to kill the mites that are underneath the brood that weren't stopped?
Okay, good question. Yeah, so I think in that case, what you should do is, if you already have a green drone comb that's drawn out, then you could use that underneath or inside of this cage. And that way she would only lay drone or unfertilized eggs. And then, yeah, at that point, when you're done isolating her, take the green drone comb out and then freeze it and kill. You're going to kill the drones, of course, but you don't need them now. All those drones are going to be killed any day now. So you're just using them to attract the mites. And so that way you can actually freeze that green drone comb and then release your queen out again. That's a good idea, Pat.
You mentioned earlier about doing this once a week for July, August, and September. And you also mentioned killing the queen and letting them make another queen. If you did that, would you still have to do this in, say, the end of August or September? Or would that 30 days without a queen be enough?
That's a good question. So I also said that isolating the queen shouldn't be your only go-to way of controlling mites. So isolating the queen like this is a good way to get rid of or prevent a lot of breaking the brood cycle. You're preventing additional mites from being born or being reproduced, but you're still got mites in there. So this used in combination with something like oxalic acid or Formic Pro or Apiguard, whatever you can get away with in warmer weather in August, is going to be the best punch. And I think as always, you should always rotate your type of treatment. Don't get stuck on one. If you're using, you know, your soft chemicals, try to change that up a lot. That's going to help mites not develop a resistance to them. But I think this is one approach among many that you should be using to control mites. I assure you, if you think you don't have mites, or you think you don't need to worry about them, you don't think they're going to hurt your hive, I'm very sad to say that you're going to be disappointed. They're going to cause your colony to collapse, either this year or certainly next year. So you got to stay on top of the mites. So I won't be using the isolation cage. It was just for video purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back, bring my queen out of there. I don't want to confine her just yet, but that is one technique you can use. And when you do pull this frame out, go to the middle. Don't scrape it against the walls of the metal. Try to stay as close as you can to the center. Just move slowly. The queen will be fine. She's on my side. I see her already. And she's still right there in the middle. Yep. And so what we can do is just lift up the queen cage. See if I can do it one-handed. Get my fingers across both of them. There we go. Now let's just pull this straight up now. We'll shake those bees off in a second. I want to get the queen back in here as soon as I can. Yep, she's right in the middle. I'm going to rotate the frame so Pat can keep a scene on her. But let's see, get these bees off of the strategic area where I want to put my fingers, right there. See, the queen is right in the middle there. So when I put a queen frame back in, I watch her so that I stay off the other frame, and then when I get closer, I just slide the two frames gently together. That way I don't damage the queen. Right over here, you can see where I left this gap for the queen cage. So that I want to make sure that I close all the gaps up between the frames. There's one over here. That way you're having no strange wonky burr comb everywhere because you left the frames too far apart. Bee space is one of Reverend Langstroth's great discoveries, and you want to continue to realize bees want a bee space, but if you violate their bee space, they will make you pay the price with a lot of propolis or a lot of strange comb everywhere. All right, there we go. I got some more tips coming up. Don't go anywhere. More August tips in just a second here after I kill that beetle. So I think in this hive I saw 3 small hive beetle, and I killed all 3 of them so far. That's awesome. This frame has not been touched against the wall, see? And it probably never will be. It's too late now for the bees to do much about that. Let's say that you're looking at this hive and they are disappointing. Maybe in your case, they did not fill up the top deep. They're all just down in the bottom. They got weaker. They finally got a queen going, but they're not going to make it through winter. In that case, in August, it's a good time to combine your weak hives with a stronger colony. So if we only had 1 deep over here, I'll show you in this video right now, what you would do, you would take a newspaper. And the hardest part about this is it's hard to find newspaper anymore. But you would take a newspaper, cut a couple of slits in it, put it between your existing colony that has 2 deeps or 1 deep on it, whatever you want to do. And then you would add the weak colony on top. Now you're going to have to kill the queen in your weak colony. You want the strong colony to be untouched by your intervention. Don't change the queen or anything. Unless that queen is failing and the other colony has a better queen, but that's rare. And then you just put them together and let them sort things out. Here's what I get asked a lot though. Some people say if I have 2 deeps and I put a deep on, I've got 3 deeps. Do I leave 3 deeps on there for winter? No, you don't. You will take those 30 frames and decide which of those 30 are the best 20 that go into 2 deeps and brush all the bees in there. Or if you have 4 deeps, you're going to still get them into 2 deeps, take the best 20 frames out of the 40 frames and put those in the 2 deeps and brush all the bees eventually down back into the 2 deeps. But you want to give them about a week before you do that after they've been combined. But it's better to combine 2 weak hives for winter than to try to get 2 weak hives through winter. So combination is a good thing to be thinking about in the month of August, because let's face it, most people in August don't have a nectar flow. Without a nectar flow, you can't get wax drawn out. And so you're just up against the wall trying to get a hive built up strong even in the month of August. Now, if you are wanting to know more about how to extract your honey, I made a video just for you guys from hive to bottle. This is the time of the year where you're probably going to be wanting to do that. Got a video walking you through each step. I'll see you guys over there.